He urged the two buyers to leave quickly, because if Lai Fong was discovered by them, it would be troublesome. Ha Ka was curious where Duan Fei was going next. He remembered Along, the person he had met in the Panda City. There was a person there, who might know about Xianyu's clue. He had wasted a lot of time already. This time, he had to find Xianyu quickly. He was determined. Until now, Duan Fei had successfully killed another D-level monster and had reached the 300th floor on the cultivation path that he participated in. Duan Fei did not have to spend too much time. In just 15 seconds, he had wiped out the monster and prepared to move on to the next floor, receiving an additional 20% gravity. Thap Thap was the guide, flying next to Duan Fei to congratulate him on his achievements in the past 2 days. She continued to ask if he wanted to continue or not, because the next floor would have a monster with a new state. She also guessed that with Duan Fei's ability, no matter how many more floors there were, it would not be difficult for him. Duan Fei decided to try the next floor according to Thap Thap's words, because he saw that there was still a lot of time left. Moreover, he also wanted to see what the monster's form was like. Thap Thap then led Duan Fei to the 301st floor, where the monster was also D-level. If he defeated it, then the evolution points would be tripled. The state of this monster was to nullify the attacks, a very powerful type of strength, especially in battles like this. The monster immediately appeared in front of Duan Fei to challenge him. It had a wolf-like shape, with red wolf fur and sharp claws. Its arrogant appearance and its nullifying ability made Duan Fei pay more attention. The monster could not wait for the battle to start. It roared to signal Duan Fei to take the initiative to attack first. It acted coolly only to be approached by Duan Fei and punched in the face. Seeing Duan Fei being so arrogant with it, it was very unhappy, its eyes full of killing intent as it glanced at Duan Fei. Its teeth clenched and growled. It stood up and punched hard on the ground. The attack was aimed at Duan Fei, who had his attack power reduced by the gravity effect. After it thought that it had won against Duan Fei, it immediately wanted to launch a decisive blow to finish him off. He jumped back quickly to avoid the attack of the monster. Although he was agile, he also had some difficulties, because his ability was being limited a lot. Thap Thap saw Duan Fei struggling, so she advised him to stop and prepare well before coming back, because the difficulty of the fight was increasing. But Duan Fei had no intention of doing so. The impatient monster continued to rush to attack Duan Fei. This time it used all 4 legs to increase its running speed. It rushed over without knowing that it was about to get beaten up. It did not know how Duan Fei regained the initiative and just waited for the prey to come closer to launch his punch. He moved like a gust of wind, and his punch sent the monster flying up to the moon. The system immediately announced that he had killed the enemy, and the time was 25 seconds. Thap Thap was stunned. If she met people like Duan Fei who passed each challenge like going shopping, she would probably die soon. The confrontation with that monster was his last match of today. Duan Fei did not continue, but chose to go back and rest for a night. For him, everything needed moderation. He returned to the abandoned apartment and sat at the table opposite Ha Ka. He saw that she was still there, so he wondered why she hadn't gone to rest yet. Ha Ka said that she still had some things to deal with, so she couldn't rest yet. She pointed to the map on the table. After 2 days since they left, the 3 of them had gotten very close to the Panda City, but Ha Ka still didn't know the situation inside the city, so she wanted to prepare some plans to cope. Duan Fei heard that and wanted to scout ahead before arriving at the city in the night. Ha Ka offered to go with him, but he refused, hoping that she could stay and watch over Anna. He promised to come back soon after scouting. Then, he walked out, under the night sky in the middle of the deserted city. He thought that he wouldn't be able to scout much by walking, so he used his shadow-killing skill to scout faster. Duan Fei suddenly stopped in front of a bar on the way. He silently looked inside for a while. Inside the bar was Along's group. Hey Dao stood behind the counter pouring soda into a glass of ice, only seeing Along grinning and protesting that he wanted to drink alcohol, but Hey Dao knew that he still had to do a mission, so there was no chance of any alcohol in his glass. Along was still stubborn, laughing because he thought that this soda was only for children, but if it was me, I would love soda. At this moment, Along, who was quick-witted, noticed that someone was coming in, and it was not a stranger. He said to Hey Dao to prepare another glass. That was Along's guest. Duan Fei slowly pushed the door and entered. Seeing Along, he happily greeted him and looked overjoyed, not expecting that they would meet again so soon. Duan Fei walked to the bar counter, choosing a seat next to Along. He only ordered a glass of water. Hey Dao told him to wait a moment and then turned to pour water. He looked around and asked Along, "Was this bar theirs?" He also wondered about the absence of the other two teammates. Along explained to him that the two of them still had to prepare for the mission, so they didn't come here with him. Along expressed that this place was where he chose as a base after this city had fallen into ruin. Sometimes he would come here to rest and relax. Besides that, Along updated Duan Fei on the information about finding his sister. Unfortunately, there was still no clue about her. Then, he put a photo of a woman on the table. She had short hair and was said to be the one who took Xinu away. That was some of the information that Along had. Suddenly, at this time, Hey Dao seemed startled when she saw the photo of that woman. Seeing Hey Dao's face, Duan Fei noticed and asked her. Hey Dao said it was nothing and put the glass of water that he had ordered on the counter, holding the photo in her hand. Along exclaimed and remembered that he seemed to have met her before. Hearing that, Duan Fei couldn't calm down and jumped up from his seat, but Along quickly soothed him. Along admitted that he just felt a bit impressed, so he said that, but it could also be that he mistook her for someone else. It was a case of people looking alike after all. Anyway, he needed to confirm it first. Then, he came up with an idea. His idea was that he would help Duan Fei find his sister by spreading notices about this woman everywhere. But because he still had a mission, he had to ask Duan Fei to help him with that. Duan Fei did not hesitate and agreed with Along's idea and took responsibility for completing the mission for him. After all, it was beneficial for both of them. The two raised their glasses and finalized their plan together. After clinking glasses with Duan Fei, Along wanted to ask for alcohol again, but Hey Dao sternly said that he couldn't fool around with her. Duan Fei, after finalizing the idea with Along, set off to do the mission for him. The mission location was not far from the city. The mission was to investigate natural disasters, which was also a topic that he was interested in. But because he had an appointment in the city at dawn, he had to make use of every bit of time that night. At the bar, Hey Dao asked Along about the photo. The photo was just to deceive Duan Fei. Along could only do that to temporarily cover up for Tianwang, because if Duan Fei knew the truth, then everything would not be good. As for him, he would go to Tianwang to ask later. Duan Fei muttered, full of thoughts about the natural disasters, also looking forward to learning more from them. Many years ago, when the world was still peaceful, in a small alley, there were 3 homeless children rummaging through the trash to find some food. The 3 children were a men's group, Kim Kwang and Hey Dao. Amin was the eldest brother, so he couldn't stand seeing his siblings starving. After searching for a while, they were overjoyed because they found half a loaf of bread, which seemed edible. They were about to split the half loaf of bread for the 3 of them, when a voice came from behind. Another child appeared and told them to stop, not to eat that bread. Amin thought that someone came to steal their food, so he shouted that they had found the trash can first and it was theirs. The voice just now was from another boy. Next to him was a girl, and that boy was none other than Along later. Along had good intentions. He didn't want to take their food, on the contrary, he wanted to help them, inviting them to follow him and they wouldn't be hungry anymore. The girl next to him was cold from the beginning. She didn't say anything. Then, they went together. Along fed their 3 stomachs by stealing food from outside. Min turned and asked, "Was this what Along meant?" Along dusted his hands. He didn't steal, he just borrowed temporarily, because they all needed to eat. Until now, the girl standing next to Along finally spoke up. She doubted whether Along could take care of these 3 kids when he took them in like that. But Along was carefree and simple-minded. He wanted to share his fate with them. He trusted in his friend's leadership ability, so he brought them along. The girl heard Along's intention and admitted that she was not as great as him. What she wanted to do was to escape from this miserable and hungry situation. They were now the mercenary group that Duan Fei knew. No wonder their relationship was so good. Back to the present, Along was standing in the elevator at a base just now reminiscing about the past. In an instant he went looking for Xiao Van to ask questions. Xiao Van was the girl who went with him back then. He guessed endlessly whether Xiao Van's mission could be a search mission like his own. And it was also looking for Xianu like him. But guessing endlessly didn't get anything either. He would ask her later. Along arrived at Xiao Van's office and politely knocked on the door before entering. As soon as he entered, he smiled and greeted Xiao Van. But Xiao Van had no expression and asked him what he was doing here at this time. Along shrugged at his friend and said that he came here out of friendship to visit an old friend. He didn't want to bother her. Xiao Van was still cold and warned him not to visit her too often. Then she got straight to the point and asked Along what he wanted. She knew that her friend didn't just come here to see her. Along was also not courteous and requested to see Xiao Van's mission list. Xiao Van worked for headquarters and thought that Along had thought it through and wanted to see the missions in advance to join her. So she took out a file with a list. She also blamed him for always protecting the Black Peach group too much for so long. After all, she thought they should have their own path. Along knew Xiao Van's personality, so he nodded and let it go. He picked up the list on the desk. He thought of the name Duan Xianu while flipping through the pages. Along was surprised to find the information of the girl Anine who often went with Duan Fei in the pile of lists. Could it be that Xiao Van was looking for her? Along became tense. Xiao Van saw that he was not well and asked him, interrupting his thoughts. Along just said it was nothing and returned the list to Xiao Van. Along thought to himself that Duan Xianu's whereabouts were not here. Maybe Duan Fei was wrong. Xiao Van got up from her desk at this time. She was ready to leave to do her mission. She did not forget to remind Along to consider joining the investigation team. She said that the headquarters was putting a lot of pressure on them. Because before, they only caught 9 targets, and one of them did not have a list. Hearing this, Along reacted immediately. What was the person without a list like? Xiao Van said that she heard that the headquarters was about to recruit that girl. Along stood still, feeling a wave in his heart. The person without a list, could it be the one he was looking for? Meanwhile, Duan Fei had arrived at the place where he was supposed to do Along's mission. He still used shadow killing to move around for convenience. Although he used shadow killing to move, it still took him half an hour to get there. It was another deserted city, not far from Panda City if you walked, but it would take half a day anyway. Anyway, he hoped he would find something about the disaster. Duan Fei walked down the old stairs, sticking to the outer surface of the building. He wanted to finish the mission quickly and go back to deal with the main thing. Entering the floor, he saw a lot of zombies scattered around, probably because the organization had kept them here. He couldn't help but wonder what they were doing. Did they want to increase their own strength? Duan Fei was about to use his power and skills to quickly defeat them and go back, but a strange girl appeared among the zombies. She was not human either. Duan Fei was surprised by her attack before she fully showed herself. He thought the mission was just to kill these zombies, but he didn't expect to meet another opponent. The dust from the attack just now faded away, and the disaster demoness appeared in front of Duan Fei. She was at level D, capable of making her opponents increase a lot of strength until they exceeded their limits. She also had a disaster puppet that she had captured before. The demonist smelled the scent of the spirit grass that he had absorbed before, and Duan Fei was not flustered at all. He even challenged her that next time her comrades would smell her essence on him. The demonist did not beat around the bush anymore and directly ordered her puppet to attack Duan Fei. Duan Fei activated a fire charm in his hand and also rushed towards him, after vaguely guessing something. Along ran to the iron bars that held the people that headquarters had captured and stopped at a huge iron cage. He looked at the girl sitting inside, a girl with white hair and a pure dress who looked up when she heard someone call. Along asked her, "Are you Xinu?" Along asked again outside the iron bars, "Are you Xinu?" Xinu calmly and bluntly replied, "I will never join their team. Don't waste your words on me." Along slowly explained that he was not here to persuade her to join anything. He was looking for her at the request of someone named Duan Fei. Xinu heard her brother's name and felt a surge of emotion. She rushed to the iron bars and confirmed with Along again. "Is it my brother who is looking for me? Is my brother really alive?" She was so excited that she was pushed back by a cough. Along saw that her condition was very bad. Actually, it was because the Heavenly Net people could not force her to join, so they fed her a kind of drug every day that made her body weaker and weaker. Along was furious when he heard this. He hated the Heavenly Rain people and assured her that her brother had always been looking for Xinu and would definitely save her. Xinu was weak and could only be happy in her heart that her brother was still alive. Seeing the wounds all over Xinu's arm, Along clenched his teeth and could not accept it. He told her to endure a little longer, and he would go to report to Duan Fei to come and save her. Because he could not easily take her out by himself, Xinu would have to wait for her brother. Seeing Xinu silent, Along affirmed to her again that her brother would definitely come. Duan Fei was now a very strong person, knowing for sure that he would come to save her. Xinu could not hold back her tears anymore. She cried out loud and said what she had always regretted. She always hated herself for being the one who killed her brother. But now she heard from Duan Fei, she really did not dare to believe that she was dreaming. Along heard a noise at this time and knew someone was coming, so he told Xinu and prepared to sneak away. Two people were walking across the prison rooms. They mentioned the drug they had used on Xinu, which was a drug that turned people into puppets. They wanted to experiment on Xinu because she refused to join the organization anyway. Coincidentally, Along was still there. He hid behind a wall and heard their evil intentions. The drug was not perfect and could cause death. They wanted to kill Xinu. A big fire suddenly hit the iron bars of Xinu's cell. The hand holding the iron bars was burning red. Along appeared in anger. Without explaining much, he decided to take Xinu away right now. He quickly dealt with the two beasts of the organization and turned them into two dry corpses. The alarm sounded everywhere, alerting that a target had escaped from prison. Xiao Van had returned by then, angrily grabbed the collar of one of them on the corridor, and asked who did it. He was scared by Xiao Van's overwhelming aura and confessed that it was a mercenary. Hearing mercenary, Xiao Van immediately thought of Along, her close friend, who had also coincidentally come to see her not long ago, so she did not doubt it, it was Along. The big man from the organization who had just returned heard about it and came to Xiao Van to ask about the problem. He looked fierce and felt like he was about to have some fun. Who dared to steal someone from Heavenly Net? This muscular man was Akeem, the leader of Heavenly Net's small Team 7 who had just returned from a mission. He immediately took over the prison break case. He really wanted to hunt down that audacious guy. Xiao Van was a little worried about Along, afraid that Akeem would not spare him, so she insisted that he had to catch them alive. But Akeem did not seem to want to kill him either, just to see how much he could spare him. Along and Xinu followed the ventilation duct to get out. They crawled inside for a while. From the gap of the duct, Along could observe the base below. It seemed that his escape from the prison had spread. When they reached an empty passage, he burned a small door from inside the duct to get out. He lifted his hand to help Xianyu down from the duct. They walked on the dark road. Xianyu always followed Along closely. He worried that she could not hold on because her health was weakening. As they walked, Along did not forget to encourage Xianyu to try hard. Suddenly, a fist came flying. Along only noticed it when it was close to his face. The punch from Akim shattered the bricks there. Xianyu was horrified. She did not see Along anywhere. She thought that he had died after Akim's attack. Akim had a burly figure. He thought that he had gone too far and killed him. Then he scratched his head and explained his poor excuse to Xianyu. He mainly wanted to say that he did not mean to kill him. At this point, Akim did not defend himself. He was attacked by a familiar golden flame. Along did not suffer much damage. He appeared brightly and coolly like a god. He faced the boss and threatened him. He did not allow him to get close to Xianyu even a bit. Akim felt that the interesting drama he had been waiting for had just begun. He emitted a lot of energy. In a blink of an eye, the one who turned to look at Along was a bear's figure. He had transformed into a bear with A-level power and could attack like a real bear. Akim was hit by this attack and turned into a human-like bear. He did not hesitate to praise Along's fire power with a sentence. Along was not polite either. He criticized Akim's strength as far inferior to his own. Akim was annoyed by this remark from Along. He angrily rushed to Along and punched him very fast. But luckily, Along dodged this punch. Along caught the fire on his hand and gathered a stream of fire power. Then he shot it at Akim. Unexpectedly, this move was just scratching an itch for Akim. He used his bare hand to block this move. Seizing the opportunity, Akim pounced on Along again, using his sharp claws to strike at Along. Along also used his bare hand to block this attack from Akim, while using his knee to push Akim's hand away. But as before, this move did not hurt Akim at all. Unexpectedly, the focus was not on his knee, but on his ankle below. His ankle caught fire and kicked forward with fire power. Akim was attacked by the fire power unexpectedly and could not resist it. He was pushed back into the wall. At this moment, Akim's subordinates ran here and saw the scene of Akim being beaten by Along. They looked at the face of the one who beat their leader and felt that it was familiar, but they could not remember who it was. They were also very confident and wanted to replace Akim and beat up that guy who was looking for death. But Akim would not let his subordinates fight with Along. He insisted on fighting with Along himself and advised his subordinates not to interfere in this matter. Although Akim sounded calm, he was actually angry inside. This damn Along made him lose face in front of his brothers. He had not easily obtained this position of leader. If he could not defeat a trash like Along, he would have no face left. Thinking of this, Akim rushed up again and chopped his hand at Along. Along raised his hand to block, but he was too late. He was seriously injured and blood kept spilling from his mouth. Afong also realized that Akim's attack was getting stronger. Akim was furious and pounced on Along, beating him up as if he wanted to tear him apart. Along felt uneasy and retreated a few steps back. Xianyu saw this and ran over to ask him, but Along still said bravely that he was fine and told Xianyu to find a safe place to hide. As soon as he finished speaking, fire power spread everywhere, forming a circle around Along. At this time, one of Akim's subordinates remembered that Along was chosen as the official leader because of his excellent power. But he did not know why he withdrew and then disappeared. Because of this, Akim was appointed as the substitute leader. Akim heard this and became even more angry, because Along was the one who made him a laughingstock for everyone. Now logically speaking, if he killed Along, he could become the official leader. He immediately entered the second stage of his beast form, with a huge increase in strength. But Along did not let Akim get ready. He quickly launched a move of shooting fire ropes at Akim. Akim took this move and did not suffer any damage. He flew out of the fire and rushed to Along. He punched down with enough force to shake the sky and earth. Fortunately, Along dodged this punch. But it turned out that Akim's intention was to use the force from his punch to blow Along away. Along did not expect him to use his own trick from earlier and was thrown into the wall by Akim's move. But Along did not give up. He immediately counterattacked and punched Akim's bare face. Unexpectedly, his own face was grabbed by Akim. He took advantage of this and slammed Along to the ground, then continued to hit him hard. Akim was fighting fiercely when he was suddenly thrown away by a powerful fire power. Along stepped out of the fire. It turned out that he had used his final move, forming a natural blood fire power. It seemed that Along was really angry. Akim did not understand why Along had to go this far. Clearly, Along was so strong, why did he choose to betray them before? Along also replied in a friendly that it was because of their way of doing things that made him sick. As soon as he finished speaking, he shot out a big fire blast that burned the whole corner of the room where Akim stood. On the other side of the screen, there were two people watching them fight from afar. Seeing how strong Along was, they were a bit interested. The white-haired one sent the Ring King next to him to deal with Along. After defeating Akim, Along himself was also seriously injured. Luckily, thanks to Xinu's ice power, the burns on his body were also relieved a lot. Xinu also recovered a bit because of the effect of the drug wearing off. Xinu wanted to treat him more, but Along felt that he was better already. He reminded Xinu that they needed to leave quickly before Tianwang sent more people. Before leaving, Xinu gave Along a hair clip that looked exactly like Duanfei's. Maybe others would think that they were wearing matching accessories. Along only wore long pants, held Xinu's hand and ran away with her. Xinu finally spoke out her doubt in her heart, "Why did you risk your life to save me today?" Along also honestly answered, "It's because the heavenly net wanted to act against you today. If something happened to you, I wouldn't have the face to see Duanfei anymore." Xinu was extremely grateful to the brother in front of her. She also promised that when she reunited with her brother, she would thank Along more properly with him. The two of them ran for a while and reached the exit door. Behind this door, they would be considered successful. But as soon as Along touched the door lock, a sword suddenly pierced his heart. Xinu saw this scene and was terrified. She only had time to scream loudly. Along looked at the sword under his chest, spat out blood, and before he could react, the sword was pulled out of his body and flew behind them. A figure appeared behind the rubble. He held the sword and introduced himself as one of the 20S level warriors, the Ring King ranked 8th. Along covered his wound with his hand and coughed violently. He didn't expect that an S level would also join the battle. Because Along had betrayed the heavenly net, the Ring King had to kill him. He also said that if Along obediently handed over Xinu, he would grant him a quick death. But Along was not so easy to submit. Today, even if he died, he had to take Xinu out of here. The Ring King lost patience and decided to attack first. He arrogantly thought that with Along's current condition, he could crush him without using his power. Along heard that and his eyes showed anger. He fought back, but was beaten by the Ring King's power. The Ring King had just said that he didn't need to use his power to crush him, but he used it as soon as he attacked. He was really a man of 100 tricks. The Ring King's speed was too fast. Along couldn't defend himself and lost nearly half a liter of blood. His body was full of injuries. Xinu used her power to attack the Ring King, but he didn't care about her move at all. He just swung his sword and shattered all the ice that Xinu had thrown at him. The ice fragments flew back at Xinu and wounded her body. The Ring King gave Xianyu a chance. If she joined the heavenly net, he would spare her life. But Xianyu still refused firmly. She would rather die than join such an inhuman organization. The Ring King heard her words and his eyes showed anger. But he calmly said, "Those who betray the heavenly net must die." Then he slashed at Xianyu. But a hand grabbed his sword from nowhere. The Ring King was annoyed and glanced at the person who stopped him. He saw Along covered in wounds, engulfed in flames, trying to grab his sword. Along roared angrily and punched the sword. Inside the dust that Along created was the Ring King standing still for a moment, with his melted sword in his hand. This flame was very special. He realized that Along was not only burning his blood, but also his life in this battle. Along attacked quickly and surrounded the Ring King with a large fire vortex. The Ring King didn't fight back, because he knew that Along would soon run out of energy. The Ring King finally drew his second sword and decided to play with Along a little. Along knew that with the current situation, he was not the Ring King's opponent and could not attack him directly. He told Xianyu to run away while he held him back. Now, their only hope was Duan Fei. As long as Xianyu could escape from here, she would surely be saved. He would try to buy some time for Xianyu. If he died here, he hoped that Xianyu would protect his family for him. The Ring King was on his way to Along when he was blocked by some ice blocks. Oh, not some ice blocks, but a huge ice block. It seemed that Xianyu was also angry. If she ran away alone, she wouldn't have the face to see her brother anymore. So she wanted Along to keep his words for later and tell them to Duan Fei. Along saw the big ice block in front of him and was very worried. He turned around and asked, "Are you okay?" But fortunately, the effect of the drug in her body had completely disappeared. This was good news for them, as they could cooperate again and wait for Duan Fei to arrive. The Ring King stuck in the ice heard this and a killing intent rose in his eyes. He broke the ice block of Xianyu and looked forward to the reinforcements that Along mentioned. He thought that no matter who came, they could not be stronger than the heavenly net. Along felt the power burst of the Ring King and his face was a little panicked. It seemed that the Ring King had underestimated his enemy. He didn't expect that Along and Xianyu could force him to use his real power. Along didn't expect that his power was to create sharp blades with killing intent anywhere on his body. Although Xianyu had recovered, her level was still very low, and his body was almost at its limit. They didn't have much time to think anymore. They could only try to work together and delay the time. Taking one step at a time was Along's plan. Along managed to get behind the Ring King, but from the fire, the Ring King also threw 3 swords at Along. Along used the fire from his hand to try to burn the 3 swords of the Ring King. At the same time, he turned around and kicked at the Ring King, but luckily he dodged it. They fought non-stop, moving from one place to another. The Ring King still felt that joining the heavenly net was the greatest honor. He thought that the strongest powers in the world were gathered here, including him. So he thought that Along's escape was ridiculous, just like killing another ant. No one can save you, my friend. Along heard that and got angry for his lover, got angry for Duan Fei. He believed that Duan Fei would never lose to a human like this Ring King. But he was almost done now, his face had been burned. The Ring King noticed that Along's speed had slowed down significantly, it seemed that Along had reached his limit. He hit Along's shoulder with a fatal blow, which made Along fall completely. The Ring King was about to celebrate, but Along kindly reminded him that there were 2 of them. The Ring King then realized it and looked at the side. He saw that Xianyu had prepared a kick for him for a long time. Xianyu saw that the Ring King had noticed and quickly threw ice blocks at him. These things were only like scratching an itch for the Ring King, and they couldn't change the situation at all. Along also released fire sparks, which created a huge air pressure when they met the rocks, and exploded a whole space. Taking advantage of the moment when the Ring King was blinded by the steam, Along used his firepower to quickly take Xinu away. Xinu was very worried about Along's body, but Along thought that this was not the time to worry about that. On the way out, there was a group of people who came to stop them, but they were not Along's opponents at all. Along used his arm, which he used as his flying force, to shoot fire sparks at them. Because he lost his force behind him, he also fell to the ground. At this time, the Ring King also caught up with them. He really didn't understand why he could waste his energy fighting like this when he knew it was all in vain. Xinu used her weak remaining strength to resist, but of course the Ring King could easily knock her away. The Ring King looked at this stubborn girl and decided to kill her first. He said, and stabbed a sword at her, splashing blood everywhere. Xinu closed her eyes tightly, thinking that she was about to meet her ancestors. But it turned out that Along used his body to block the sword for her. He also told her to run away quickly, and she ran with all her strength, survived, and Duan Fei would definitely come to save her. He couldn't escape anymore. He said sorry to her, Xinu. Along whispered his last words with a weak voice and a mouth full of blood. Xinu's eyes kept shedding tears, and she begged Along to hold on a little longer. Her brother Duan Fei will be here soon. But Along had no more hope, and he gripped the sword that pierced through his body, mumbling a few words, Xiao Van, Black Peach, Amin, Diamond, sorry everyone, I have to go ahead one step. It's a pity that he didn't drink a drop of wine today. The Ring King couldn't stand the scene in front of him, and shouted the death chase formation, wanting to quickly finish off Along. Suddenly a loud explosion occurred a few steps away from them. And you must have guessed who caused this explosion. Xinu opened her eyes in astonishment and called out brother. And our protagonist, he really knew how to appear in the most stylish way possible. 40 minutes ago, right here in this corridor, after Along had just defeated Akeem and ran away with Xinu, they ran into Xiao Van. Xiao Van dragged him into a corner away from Xinu a bit, and scolded Along for daring to kidnap someone from their headquarters. And Along scolded Xiao Van back for catching an innocent person here. Xiao Van didn't answer his question but directly told him to return Xinu back. Then she would beg them for a way out for him. Along heard Xiao Van say that and immediately got angry. He knew she didn't want to go back to living on the streets anymore. But they still had the same ideal, and they couldn't trample on the lives of others at will. Locking up a girl in a prison and injecting poison into her body every day was a very wrong thing to do. If Along had found out a little later, then Xinu would have been done for. Xiao Van heard that and also got angry. Who did Along think he was? He thought he could save Xinu by himself? That would only make him go to his death. But if he really died, what would Black Peach do? He didn't think before and after at all, he just rushed into death like a moth. The Skynet had successfully recruited 9 S-level fighters to become the important part of the organization. Although they had all gone out to do missions, the 8th one, the Ring King, was still at the headquarters. Even if she and he teamed up again, they were not his opponents. He had no way out anyway. But Along ignored all the nagging words of Xiao Van and asked her for help. He asked her to contact Black Peach quickly and tell her to go to the mission place to find Duan Fei. Then he told Duan Fei that he had found Xinu and asked Duan Fei to come here quickly. Xiao Van couldn't believe her ears. Along wanted to fight with Skynet by himself. But it turned out that she misunderstood him. The person who fought with Skynet that he was talking about was that guy named Duan Fei. And according to their plan, Duan Fei really arrived. He arrived just in time when the Ring King launched the final blow on Along, a perfect hero saving a beautiful scene. The Ring King was surprised when his hand was held back by a D-level person who had such great strength. Before he could finish being surprised by this surprise, he was given another surprise by Duan Fei. Duan Fei punched him hard in the chest and didn't expect the Ring King to fly several feet away because of this punch. Duan Fei didn't bother to check how the Ring King was doing, but turned around directly and looked at the two people, Along and Xianyu. Xianyu hadn't seen her brother for a long time and was very surprised, because in such a short period of time, her brother had become so powerful. Duan Fei suddenly rushed over and hugged Xianyu tightly. He apologized to her for being late and making her suffer so much. Xianyu knelt on the ground and leaned her head on his chest and cried. She just felt good that her brother was still alive, and also very regretful that she had held him tightly at that time and made him weak. Duan Fei saw Xianyu's arm covered with wounds. He felt very sad in his heart. But Xianyu still insisted that she was fine. She also reminded Duan Fei to check on Along's situation. She also asked Duan Fei to save Along, because this life was also thanks to Along. Duan Fei only noticed Along's body lying on the ground then, and shouted loudly, "Xian Along, hold on a little bit, don't let anything happen." Xianyu looked at Along, who became like this because of her, and tears welled up in her eyes. Maybe the protagonist thought that Along would come back to life because of his scream, so he kept screaming loudly to encourage Along to hold on. I felt a bit speechless when I read this. While Duan Fei was risking his life screaming at Along's motionless body, the Ring King was humiliated by being injured by a D-level person and rushed like flying towards Duan Fei to take revenge. He wished he could tear them into pieces. Xianyu saw this and was very scared. Duan Fei was very calm and used his shadow killing ability. But what the Ring King and all of us didn't expect was that Duan Fei could let his shadow use the Ring King's ability. He merged his shadow with the S-level ring exchange ability. Although the shadow could only have 10% of the ring exchange ability, it was enough to buy some more time for Duan Fei to heal Along. The shadow of Duan Fei moved his lips and mocked Nan Vong about how he was defeated by his own power. They were indeed like masters, like servants, both of them were so sarcastic. Nan Vong felt like his black heart was hit by the words and burst into anger. He told Duan Fei to shut up. Then he attacked the shadow again. He launched a series of attacks, and the shadow could only defend because of his limited power. He tried to stall Nan Vong. Nan Vong kept attacking the shadow. He said, get up and talk back. Where's your strong mouth? Do you only know how to dodge like this?" On this side, Along finally showed signs of regaining consciousness. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Duan Fei also felt that this was a good thing. As long as he had consciousness, there would be a chance. Along opened his eyes and worried about Duan Fei. The first thing he said was to remind Duan Fei to be careful with that Nan Vong. He was, after all, the first-class warrior of Thien Vong. Of course he would not be easy to deal with. Duan Fei told Along not to talk anymore, but to rest assured and rest for a while. He also asked Xianyu to use her power to reduce the infection of Along's wound. His clone was about to lose to Nan Vong, so he had to deal with him personally. Nan Vong was fighting fiercely when suddenly the shadow disappeared, leaving only Duan Fei hiding in the purple smoke. He provoked him to come here and taste his power. It was time to settle this debt clearly. Nan Vong was very excited, thinking that Duan Fei was looking for death. He didn't know how Duan Fei got his power, but fake goods could never beat real goods. Before he finished speaking, Duan Fei began to use his hidden killing power, quickly covering the whole place with darkness. He looked coldly at Nan Vong, who was very confused by the swords that came out from everywhere around him. All directions were sharp blades. Nan Vong couldn't believe his eyes. He was extremely bewildered. Duan Fei didn't want to talk much, just focused on using his power, and immediately the blades attacked Nan Vong one after another, cutting him constantly. The blades stuck into the ground and Nan Vong disappeared. Suddenly something sharper than Duan Fei's blades cut them all off, and Nan Vong appeared from the rubble, along with his second arm blade. He rushed towards Duan Fei, throwing out a series of blades from both hands all around. Nan Vong tried to knee Duan Fei in the face, but Duan Fei saw through his movement and easily dodged it. He was furious and attacked him, thinking that Duan Fei couldn't take it anymore. Fake goods were just fake goods after all. How could they be Nan Vong's opponent? Duan Fei didn't bother to answer, just stared at him, and Nan Vong became even more angry because of that look. A few more blades appeared behind him, determined to smash that expression on his face. He threw out a bunch of blades at Duan Fei, but of course Duan Fei dodged his blade with his agile skills. Xianyu saw that and realized that her brother was gradually losing ground. But she couldn't help her brother either, because Along was very critical at the moment. Duan Fei kept moving, trying to avoid Nan Vong's blades. Until the end, there was not a scratch on him. Duan Fei even taunted him with a sentence, "Is this all your power?" This sentence successfully provoked Nan Vong, making him almost lose his calm and rush towards Duan Fei. Duan Fei didn't want to stand and take it, so he immediately counterattacked. He quickly approached Nan Vong, and managed to slash him in the chest, at the same spot where he stabbed Along earlier. Nan Vong was in pain, but he didn't scream or cry. He tried to endure it. He ignored the pain from the wound, and hit Duan Fei hard. He thought that if Duan Fei didn't steal his power, he would be just useless trash. Duan Fei shook his head, and easily dodged this blow from Nan Vong, as well as withdrew his ring blade power. Nan Vong couldn't believe his eyes. He stared wide-eyed at the scene in front of him. And at this moment of distraction, he was burned by Duan Fei's fire power. Xianyu was also surprised, because she was witnessing Duan Fei using the power that belonged to Along. Nan Vong came out of the smoke and dust caused by Duan Fei, angrily asked Duan Fei who he really was and how he had so many powers. He was clearly just a trashy level D, but he could give him so much trouble. Nan Vong was determined to kill Duan Fei. He still believed that his level S power could defeat Duan Fei. Duan Fei calmly advised Nan Vong to admit defeat and have a better outcome. Then he raised his hand and shot a large fire power at Nan Vong. Nan Vong still came out of the fire, risking his life to move forward. Duan Fei admired his spirit a bit, so he increased the fire power that was released. Nan Vong seemed to have reached his limit. He rarely screamed loudly in the fire, using all his strength to attack Duan Fei again. He still thought that everything was not over yet, that he couldn't lose. Duan Fei heard that and stopped being polite. He directly unleashed a firestorm at the highest level. Nan Vong was burned to the point that his skin and flesh were charred and his legs couldn't stand on the ground anymore. At this time, the system also displayed a message: the opponent has died, level S power ring is disabled, 50% of energy fragments are returned. Duan Fei turned around to deal with this mess. But he only saw a message: "Please leave this place now, I can't explain it, just get out of here from the evolution tree." The evolution tree continued. "I sensed a huge power coming closer, a person with a power so strong that no one can compare with him." The misty smoke obscured the figure. A person was slowly appearing from the dark shadow. As soon as he appeared, Duan Fei's figure was nowhere to be seen. He thought that it was good that way. He was afraid that if Duan Fei was still here, he would have killed him. They were monsters who were discussing with each other. They turned around and looked at the person who was walking in. "What's going on? Why are you so badly injured?" It turned out to be the disaster woman who had just fought with Duan Fei. She hugged her injured arm and gritted her teeth. "I underestimated him a bit. It was because of a damn kid who did it. I will definitely get revenge for this grudge." The monster with white hair and 2 horns on his head didn't believe it. "Really? There is a human kid who can hurt you? That sounds interesting." The deer-like monster was curious. The disaster woman hurriedly said, "He is the one who killed the king bird. This time I was lucky to escape. If we let him continue like this, he will definitely be a big threat in the future. Who wants to go with me to kill him?" What are you guys fussing about? Was King Kuok really killed? I thought King Kuok and his sister were out having fun. We must pay attention to him. He has already made us lose one person and injure another. The leader, who had been sitting silently until now, slammed his hand on the table and shouted for silence. He reminded the people below who were not calm, "Don't forget our mission." Then he leaned on his hand and thought and continued. Our goal is to find this key. A picture of Anin appeared, to awaken our king and order his subordinates to disperse. We must find it. The horned monster left when he passed by the beauty Taihoa. He whispered, "Don't worry, I will support you. I am very interested in that kid." Back to the city side, Duan Fei was going up the stairs. Xianyu is coming soon. He supported his sister when he saw that she was not well. What's wrong? Xianyu put her hand on her head. It's nothing, sir, I just have a headache. I still can't calm down like what happened too. Duan Fei comforted Xianyu, "Don't worry. From now on I will protect you well." Ka was lying on the table, waking up when there was a noise. It was Duan Fei outside the door. "Ka, it's me." Hearing that, Duan Fei asked, "Why did you come back so late?" She got up and opened the door of the room, where she saw the two brothers standing outside. "You are Xianyu, right?" Duan Fei suddenly remembered that the two had never met before and said, "Let me introduce you. This is Ka, our teammate." "Hello, Ka." "Hello." Ka smiled at the girl. Duan Fei continued after the two had met, "Now Xianyu is very weak. Let her rest for a bit. Can you make some food for her?" Ka agreed right away, saying, "I understand. Go inside and talk." Duan Fei replied, "I'm not going in there. There's not enough space inside. I'll rest here next to it, and I'll explain everything to you in the morning." Xianyu slowly walked into the room and looked back at her brother, saying, "Rest well. I'll be outside watching the situation," as he worriedly instructed. Then he entered the system of evolution trees. Inside he hurriedly asked the evolution tree, "Do you also know about the Envong? Why did you stop us just now?" The evolution tree appeared. "I can feel the power of humans. He has a source of power very familiar to me, also someone who has been reborn like me." He wondered. "Now I can't be sure. Those existences of that organization are very special. We have to be vigilant. When my memory is not fully recovered yet, we can't make hasty plans," the evolution tree advised Duan Fei. He accepted that there was something special like that. "I understand." And again asked, "Now my friend is in danger, need plants containing life essence. Do you feel any nearby?" The evolution tree answered that although the aura is very weak, I feel that there is a very large source of plant energy in an area to the east. It can not only save your friend but also increase our strength. Inside the room, two girls were lying on the bed resting. "Xianyu couldn't sleep." "Sister Ka, are you asleep yet?" "You haven't?" She was curious. "How long have you known my brother? I want to know what happened to him when I wasn't here." Ka slowly told her. She and Duan Fei had known each other for a while. She remembered very clearly the first time she saw Duan Fei. He was being chased by some monsters. At that time, she thought he was about to become food in the stomachs of those monsters. But he managed to escape from their pursuit. Then, her team rescued him. He woke up and treated them as enemies, even though he had been in a coma for 4 days. He went crazy looking for his sister. He even tamed a monster as a pet. It was also Bao, who really scared them to death. Later, Duan Fei protected them in a safe place. Not long after, he also came here to look for clues about his sister. During that time, the safe place was attacked by zombies. Duan Fei single-handedly repelled them all. Then, he continued to look for his sister. When he found out that the safe place was ambushed by bad guys, he appeared like a hero in front of them. Xianyu listened and smiled faintly. It turned out that her brother had become a hero to everyone. Haka felt puzzled by the girl's words. Before she could ask, the girl continued, "Thank you, Sister Haka, and I am more determined now. I will not be a burden to my brother anymore. I have to become stronger, I have to help my brother. Let's work hard together." But, unexpectedly, Sister Haka remembered so many things about her brother. Could it be that? Haka did not let the girl say more. "Don't think nonsense and go to sleep." The next morning, the sunlight shone down on the ruined city. Duan Fei came to give Haka some things. "This is Xianyu's breakfast and clothes. When everyone is ready, come outside," he said. The door closed. Duan Fei leaned against the railing outside and waited. And he thought about going to that bar next to investigate a bit, then go to the area that the fairy tree had said. Along the way, he would help Xianyu improve her skills. The apocalypse had passed for a while now, and those zombies would also evolve further. The door of the room opened slowly, and Xianyu came out in a new outfit. "Sorry to keep you waiting. The clothes are very suitable, thank you, brother," she said. Then Haka also came out and praised him. "I didn't expect you to have a good eye too. But then again, Xianyu looks good in anything." The girl blushed. "That's not true." Duan Fei smiled and said, "That's good then." And he thought in his mind, "Actually, I just based on the clothes from my previous life's absolute limit and matched them." Then he said, "Are you ready? Where is Anna? You must have met her already, right?" Anna heard her name from somewhere and came out. Here. Anna and Sister Xianyu have become good friends already. Little Dove too." Anna was very enthusiastic. Xianyu replied, "That's good then." Duan Fei put his hand on his neck and took off the necklace he was wearing. "Right, there is still this thing, I almost forgot. Xianyu, welcome back." The girl looked at him and smiled. "Yes, I'm back." At the stairway looking down at the lower floor, Little Cloud was talking to Duan Fei. "Really? You found a way to save Along? But it's far away. In the meantime, I need you guys to protect him well." "Who else?" he asked Little Cloud to answer him. "The others have gone to find medicine for Along." And she looked out the door and saw 3 people Haka coming in. "You only have so few people? Do you need my help?" Duan Fei was confident in his ability. "No need, your task is just to protect Along well, understand?" And she thought secretly, it turns out that he has become one of their team members already. Then he decided, let's go then. In another ruined city, 2 skyscrapers with only frames left were collapsing, and in the distance, countless zombies were approaching. They looked very fierce with red eyes and sharp teeth. Duan Fei determined that the zombies had gathered recently. Next, he handed Xianyu to his sister. He was helping his sister improve her fighting skills. She unleashed countless sharp ice shards and was determined to become stronger. She was no longer the Xianyu she used to be. The ice shards flew straight towards the zombies, who could not avoid being hit continuously and still left one running straight behind Xianyu to attack her, but she detected it, glanced back cautiously and froze everything around her. Duan Fei witnessed his sister's fight and was amazed. Was this a high-level skill? She was only at level F but had such amazing abilities. She defeated all the zombies by herself. Cold ice surrounded Xianyu like a mountain, and her power increased to level E. Everyone congratulated her, congratulating Sister Xianyu for evolving to level E. Well done, Sister Xianyu was very strong, she defeated them all by herself. Thanks to everyone's help, she thanked everyone. After celebrating, Duan Fei and the others continued their journey. Okay, let's move on. Next Xianyu will rest for a while. It's Haka's turn to practice fighting. The next city is our target. In this city, the buildings were still intact. A puddle of water on the street reflected a skyscraper. Duan Fei walked by and wondered why there were no zombies or signs of fighting in the city. He observed the surroundings and said to the group of Xianyu walking next to him, Anna was nimble. Did you tell Tu Duguin to scout? As soon as he finished speaking, Tu Duguin flew back. Anna asked quickly, did it find anything? She hugged Tu Duguin and looked up at brother Duan Fei. Tu Duguin said, it saw a few zombies heading towards a cave at the foot of the mountain. Duan Fei realized that this was where they needed to find. Only that plant could emit essence, attracting zombies and humans to it, and then sucking their life force. In the forest there was a large cave from which strong scents emanated, as if to lure everything into it. The zombies were dragging each other towards the cave. It seemed to be this cave. The zombies didn't seem to notice their presence at all. It appeared that the scent was more alluring to them. Duan Fei's group observed the situation and discussed it amongst themselves. The four of them hid in the bushes, peering out. Duan Fei turned to address the others, saying, you guys stay here and wait for me. The situation inside is still unclear, and I might be in danger. Haka, concerned, responded, no way, we have to go in together. We can't always rely on you to protect us. Duan Fei smiled shyly and agreed, well then, let's go in together. Let's take advantage of the fact that the zombies are currently occupied by that tree. They believed that the essence from the zombies' lives could make them stronger, just as the Wind Clan had increased their strength using a similar method. Haka expressed her surprise, saying, I didn't expect such a wonderful thing to exist. Let's obtain it, and we'll share it. Duan Fei then coughed and replied, I don't need it, you three can use it. Haka acknowledged his decision, saying, okay then. The zombies have already gone inside. Let's go.